Welcome to International Pagan World Cafe, where Corellians and other notables from around the world share a cup of coffee or tea and chat. Viewers can interact with the hosts and guests during the live broadcast through chatting through the social media tool they are viewing the show on. So grab a cup of coffee or tea and sit down a spell with today's wonderful lineup.
Hello, welcome to International Pagan World Cafe. We are a live interactive TV show. So we are restreaming this out to several platforms. We hope that you will join the conversation and feel free to make comments and ask questions in whatever outlet you are on, and we will pull them into the show. So I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Right Reverend Laurie Denman, and I am the temple keeper for Chosen Path Church, among many other things, too numerous to mention. And I'm going to turn it over to my co host, Lord Silas Mimar.
Hello, everybody. I am Reverend Silas Mimir. I'm the head of the Mystical Rainbow Temple, and I do lots of things in the tradition of work. And so let's just go ahead and jump right in and meet our first guest. Today, our first guest is going to be the Reverend Octavia. Um, she is finishing her third degree. She is an artist and illustrator by profession, temple head of the Temple de Diana Invicta, Santuario Abuelita de Awen, and also known as the Crazy Cat Lady. Anything else you'd like to tell us more about yourself, Octavia?
Well, first of all, thank you very much. It's a real pleasure and a real honor to be here with you all. I think this is an amazing idea. This is one of the best ideas I saw in the Caribbean. Um, I think that you already said, I think the more important things about me. Um, I would like to say that I and also have the Order of the Sacred Tetractys in the Caribbean, but it's closed code right now. Is an order to study mystical background of numbers and mathematics. But right now it's not very active, but it's still very interesting. And I think that's you already said the most important things about me. So just be happy to be here and really pleased to be with our other guest that you will introduce. But it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Very good. Welcome, welcome. I'm also coming to you live from Octavia's living room here in Cáceres, Spain. And without further ado, I'll go ahead and introduce our other guest, Reverend Orlando. He has a degree in philosophy from Venezuela, but now lives in Medellin, Colombia. He's a first degree priest from the Tierra de Gracias Temple in Venezuela, and he's studying his second degree in the Mystical Rainbow Temple. He's also a sea priest, Corellian shaman, and a guardian of the blue flame in the temple Senora de las Aguas from Chile. Additionally, he is a happy father of two cats, lover of simple things, cooking and playing, and also part of the Order of Death. Orlando, would you like to
Thank you
expand?
thank you very much for the invitation. Yeah, you said everything about me. I love to be in Medellin, and being part of a temple and part of the Korean tradition means everything for me. Yeah, as you mentioned, I love cats. I love simple things. Usually, I can call myself minimalistic, something like that.
Minimalistic.
And
That's a
yeah,
great.
philosophy is everything for me. So knowing everyone, everything, and knowing the things around, simple things, uh, they create the magic. And this is, for me, what matters. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you. And Lori, would you like to get us started?
I actually do not have the sheet up, so I'm going to let you run with it. I'm trying to minimize what I have going so that I don't anger the internet
No
gods.
worries. Let's not anger them at all. So let's go ahead and start off by talking about TikTok pagan information versus misinformation. Octavia, what would you like to say about this?
Wow, I love this topic. Um, it's something that is a big reality that nowadays we are very connected through the social media. Sadly, we had a lot of fake information, misinformation, especially when it comes to people in the pagan background and witchcraft background. It's something that I saw a lot, especially in TikTok. Uh, there's people that is looking for information for some tips of how to begin into the Wicca or witchcraft world, and there's a lot of self-proclaimed gurus that they spread things that are not true. By not true, I know there's not a dogma, there's not a big truth that everybody needs to accept, but they spread a lot of fear about witchcraft, especially because some people likes to bring this kind of fear that we have from the monotheistic religions, the fear, the sin, all this weight over our shoulders that we need to feel guilty on the things that we do. They want to bring it into the witchcraft and something so simple like, oh, you should not try to do any kind of ritual for health or abundance during new moon, or will turn back and you will become really sick. Things like that is something that it worries me a lot, because it's something that looks like it plays against us. But the most sad part to me is that people tend to accept as real, as yes, 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 you must be really careful, because if you don't do this and that, then something terrible will happen to you. Your fridge will explode and everything will be terrible. I don't know why there's this need to make witchcraft something bad. I don't know if you agree with me, but it sometimes it feels like there's people spreading lies with that purpose in order to go against this. Let's call it new movements and new religions that we know that are not new, but now are becoming free. People is more free to accept, and feels like someone is too afraid that people will have liberty and freedom to choose whatever they want to believe in, and want to spread those lies. You can see easily in TikTok, and it scares me how easily people believe in those lies. They prefer to believe someone that say, yes, if you do this ritual, you have to do it like this or that, or things can turn back and you will be cursed, or you will have bad eye, a lot of bad things that it doesn't make any sense. But young witches, and by young I mean new, not just young by age, but young by practice, they accepted it, maybe because we got so normal that we comes from monotheistic religions that everything has a price, a bad price, and need to be careful to not make God be upset with you, that we say like, no, no, the same has to happen in all religions. And I'm sorry, I tend to talk too much. So, but basically,
No.
yes, it,
I,
it,
I totally agree with you, Reverend Octavia. And I want to say hi to Amy Palmer, who's joined us in the chat. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, Amy. Um, and this is not a topic that is limited to TikTok. One of my hats is I'm the president of Witch School. And so I keep an eye on other witch education outlets. And what I am finding as a new recent phenomenon is corporations have entered into the area, and they are using AI which is very Christian based. Simple things like capitalization or um, viewing witchcraft as negative, because that's what it's finding out on the internet while the AI is training up. So it's very biased that way. And the classes that they are creating have no witch involved at all. It's all done through AI, what they can find on the internet. They create a course. Watch these 8 videos, and you will be a high priestess. And it's just, at first, I thought it's just cashing in on the popularity of witchcraft and it's just spreading fluff. But when you get into what they're actually broadcasting or providing the student, like you say, Reverend Octavia, it's very negative biased. It's left-handed. It is fear-based instead of empowerment-based. And it's everywhere. It's on Facebook. It's on TikTok. It's on Instagram. It's in corporate witchcraft sites that are not backed by a tradition or a practice, practicing knowledgeable entity. So it's a problem. It's a problem for valid sources to be heard in the cacophony of noise presented by influencers or corporations that have big bucks to throw behind an ad campaign.
Yeah, you're so right. I don't know if you remember, but a couple years ago, during the middle of the pandemic, there was the whole big thing on TikTok about baby witches, and then some of them trying to curse the moon, and that
Yes,
was
yes.
just a whole big thing. What do you think about that? Do you remember when that was big? Or
Yeah, my goodness, there's so many reminders about that. Uh, First of all, I want to start saying that, as Octavia said, I came from a very Catholic family. Even though my family right now is not Catholic at all, my family is Christian, but that's it. I think I'm the only one that is pagan in my family, the black sheep. And what
rainbow
she
sheep?
said, yeah, what she said is totally right. It's kind of crazy because when I started in paganism and Wicca, uh, thanks to internet, I came to that, sorry, and I remember that there were so many things about paganism and about Wicca, about um, uh, demonistic things and magic and um, ceremonic, etc. And when I came to Templo Tierra de Gracia in Venezuela with Hasley, that she is around. Hello.
Hello,
and
Hasley.
And
it,
hello, Aiden, who's also from my temple.
it was very funny because I just ended my I decided to end the Catholic tradition and stuff like that. Almost 1 year left, and then I started with the temple to study and stuff like that. But when I enter myself in what is true, because I am a philosopher and I try always to find the truth. And nowadays it's very difficult because there are so many informations around that you must be careful and pick up the right one. And I started to work with Catholic with Catholic, sorry, very closely and understand what is right and what is wrong. Then when I just needed to leave to Venezuela because economic situations and government and stuff like that, I arrived to Colombia and was a very different story because people here is very Catholic, but at the same time they are a little bit afraid for magic, but they like magic. So it was a little bit interesting, and Silas he knows very well what I'm talking about.
Herbs. There's
For
an
ex-
herb shack like on every other corner.
yeah, so you can walk around and you can see many herbs store with herbs and incense and well, that is not the topic.
And they know what they all do. So like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, but they are afraid of that. And this is the funny thing, the funny fact about Colombians. Um, when the pandemic arrived and came here in Colombia, everybody was afraid because they thought, okay, this is a God punishment because we were so bad people. We need to be um, kind of embrace a little bit more the Catholic tradition, etc., etc. Here in Colombia, the people was afraid of that because they thought that it was a God punishment, and actually it wasn't. It was something that happened before. For example, the Black pandemic in Middle Age. And etc. So
the Spanish
there
flu
are so many
in
things involved,
1918.
and then that movement of people that they are not Catholic, but they are not pagan at all, that they were saying, okay, this is something that needs to be purged. The world must be purged. People must die in order to get more order. So it was kind of strange because we, as Wicca, as pagans, we know already that it is not true. Okay, the earth, the our place, yeah, it needs a little bit to be pure, but not like that. The pandemic is not the answer. To be honest with you, people they were trying to sell their knowledge and stuff like that in order to create a new movement of okay we need to work everyone, people that are bad must die, people that are old must die, etc., etc. So from one side to the other, pandemic was okay, was in my understanding and also in my safe knowledge and safe keeping of my mind, pandemic was a restart of everything. So we were in one direction, almost everyone was in one direction, and after that, when the pandemic arrived, people was set up as calm. So stay in your house, think a little bit, think what you're doing, think what you want, and then decide what you want to do in the future. So people realize that okay, pandemic it wasn't a punishment; it was something that was needed at that time to set up my mind and say, okay, I need to calm down and think, what am I doing now?
Yeah, but don't you see? I mean, don't you see a common characteristic? As you said in the beginning, when the pandemic began, everybody thought was a God punishment, or well, there was a lot of people thinking there was a kind of punishment from
Yeah,
God or from planet. I mean, from planet Earth. Like, yeah, Gaia is punishing us for all the contamination and all the pollution. Um, but this is a kind of heritage that we got from the monotheistic Abrahamic. No matter what
yeah,
happens, there's always we think it's our fault, our bad. We are like we got this kind of ability to always think that bad things are going to happen to us no matter what, and that is spreading into Wicca, into witchcraft, where we were talking about the misinformation, because we humankind in general, no matter the religion, no matter the part of the world you live in, we kind of feel like, yes, it's something bad is going to happen to me or to the world or to everybody, as kind of punishment for our actions, or a kind of punishment for something random I did, but I'm going to, something bad is going to happen. As Reverend Lowry said, in Wicca and in witchcraft, in the pagan world, this is affecting because instead of feeling like a empowerment, that making us the best part of us, the first thing we do is believe bad things. We always tend to believe when something bad is said. We don't even we try to find out if it's true or not. Compare the information. We tend to always believe bad things, no matter if it's like a pandemic or something like, hey, do you know that your neighbor did this or that or whatever? Oh, that's terrible. And then you just believe it.
Yeah.
I still think that is a kind of a terrible thing we got from the Christianity, Catholic, and all the monotheistic religions plus capitalism. But I'm not going to go into. Oh, that's my cat, Kike.
Oh,
Hi,
beautiful.
that's my baby. Hi, baby.
Mayo for the camera.
I want to welcome Bradley and Melanie to the show. I think part of the willingness to always look for the bad and feel guilty is instinctual. I do think some religions perpetuate it because they make coin
Yeah.
off of it. But I think the fright and flight reflex is strong in the human being. It's part of our automatic, instinctual things that we experience. And so it takes a conscious effort when confronted by something that's new to really say, whoa, wait a minute, let me figure this out. Let me take a look at this. Let me do research. And again, because of the cacophony of noise and disinformation out there, when you do your research, you know, you're kind of dependent on what pops up in Google Analytics for what you find. I agree with Reverend Orlando about the pandemic. I think it was a pause button for a lot of people as they were forced to stay home instead of going out. They reestablished their family connections with the people in the house or within their circle of friends that they considered their safety pod. And they still had time left over. So they were also faced by mortality. You know, so many people don't really think about, okay, how am I going to die? When am I going to die? You know, those kind of things. And when they started losing friends and family and loved ones, it kind of was a smack upside the head that, you know, we have no guarantee of how much of this life cycle we will experience. So people started wanting to not waste time. They were very selective on what they did and how they spent their time, because they wanted to make sure that when we came out the other side of the pandemic, they knew what they wanted. They didn't just want to go back to the rat race, and be that corporate rat race or the soccer mom rat race or whatever rat race you're in. People really wanted to be able to make choices. Plus, with the advent of Zoom and other videoing tools, people discovered they could work from anywhere.
Mhm.
So they weren't limited to their geographic location they were working in. They could work literally from anywhere. And it expanded what a lot of people wanted to do.
And it made the world
So
a
we
small
noticed
place.
at Witch School a huge influx of inquiries, and only about 25% of our students are spiritual students. The rest of them are witchcraft students, because you can be a witch and believe in any other religion. You know, it's a craft that you learn, that you can use to augment your spiritual path, but you can be on any spiritual path and be a witch. So we noticed a huge influx. We really did. And we handled it. Our mentors stepped up to the plate and took those students. Now that people are out and about, we are seeing, we're still seeing people coming, but we're seeing their attention diverted. They're not so focused on finishing their classes or moving on to the next level classes as they were during the pandemic. Um, I don't know what we can do to combat the TikTokers, the influencers that are out there just trying to make a buck instead of creating a ripple effect that will be positive for the world. Um, Anybody in the audience got any ideas? Give us a shout out in the chat, because it's really
Yes.
hard
To manage
to
and yeah,
penetrate
Yeah.
those social media
yeah.
outlets.
All we
I,
can
I,
really
I,
do is just really um, encourage people to to actually redo the research and check their sources, look at more than one thing, because just one from one spot doesn't mean that's the end all. I mean, there's lots of ways. What I've really gotten to this point in my life is there's lots of different solutions to get for a particular problem. It's just what solution works
Mhm.
best for you.
yeah.
Um, Also, I want to share Melanie's comments. Her first comment is, "It forced me to reconnect within, and it forced my family to face our troubles and fix them." That sounds like a blessing. And also, it was a severe reality check. You're not wrong about that. Uh, it really made us question a lot of things. But also, Lori, I'd like to bring up for discussion one thing that you mentioned. You brought up the fight or flight reaction, which is a very normal reaction. And what I see a lot, unfortunately, is I see a lot of people automatically just going for violence instead of trying to talk things through.
Mhm.
And I don't. Anybody have any comments about that?
Mhm. Physical and verbal.
Yeah. Any comments?
Well, I just say, as
Well, that was
Melanie said, that uh, we need to be present in this social media, and I totally agree. I mean, for for every person that is spreading misinformation or stuff that is not positive or is not, let's call it, creative, we need to be there explaining, because I saw a lot that in those kind of videos, the people spreading random crazy ideas, there's always a comment of someone like, hey, wait, no, this maybe is this or that, or what are your sources, why are you selling this, and they link it to someone else who is actually a person that's being positive, that is trying to keep it straight to the truth. And I think
Love it.
there's a little hope in there for all the people that is present in the social media, that is trying to balance a bit. For each misinformation, we have someone else spreading other kind of message and trying to explain to people that everything is in your intention, because as Rebel and Laurie said, that we always, as humankind, we try to feel guilty as the first reaction, or even tend to violence and react in a very bad way. But there's some other people in the same social media, no matter if in Facebook, Instagram, but there's always people who balance all this negative message with totally opposite. And I think that is something amazing from Karelian people, because we are very into the media. We are like right now, we are easy to access to anybody who is interested or wants information. We are very easy to approach. We know, well, I know this is a secret. We are a closet. You need to be part of a bloodline to be a witch. And no, we are just close people. We're very friendly, and this kind of activity is very important in social media, like you guys do it right now. Be very active. I know there's a lot of more Karelians like it's has I always have problems with your name, Hatsoli. Oh my god, I got three problems to say your name. So, forgive me, but I know in the temple people is very active. They spread a lot of, look at what we're doing, what we don't. We're doing this ritual. We want to heal the waters, and all these things are amazing because they balance. They keep this kind of yeah, it's balance. Sorry, sorry for my English. Balance, and that
No,
gives
it's
me
okay.
hope.
Eh,
That gives me really hope.
as Octavia Lori said, um, I think when humankind and people feel guilty is part of the balance, because of course we must be empowered of ourselves, but also we need to feel guilty because it's part of the balance. This is my small opinion, because people, okay, if they are empowered enough, they will do anything without consequences.
Okay.
But if they feel guilty in some way, they will say, okay, if I do this, it will make some troubles, it will make some consequences that maybe they are gonna be bad for me or for the people that is around, the people that
But
are around, sorry. And that the only thing that is not correct at all is when you are in the balance, or either one way or the other, forgetting the other part that is the balance. So feel too empowered
As above,
is
so
as
below.
bad as feel totally guilty. And I agree what Melanie said. We need to be more visible on social media, because I messed up the part of TikTokers and stuff like that for pandemic. I have a friend of mine that she always send me almost daily TikToks of witchcraft and stuff like that. And half of them they're good because are from a very good found and very well researched. But the other half, they are or either part experience of the person who is the TikToker sending that video, or somebody told him or told her what to do, but because it's for social media, it's in a small video and skip the most important part. So, because we already know that every action that we do now have a consequence that maybe will be bad or good. Uh, when we watch those videos that people say, okay, if you saw, I don't know, an eagle flying around, it will be an angel. Okay, why? Tell
well,
me why.
exactly why?
Are you sure it's that? Are you sure it's that way? Maybe it's your experience, it's not my experience, because half of the witchcraft, or half or part, maybe a small part or very big part is my own experience. So if I am Wicca, if I am pagan, if I am Corellian, if I am reclaiming, if I am whatever I am or whoever I am, part of my practice is my experience. So for example, I don't meditate daily as Octavia did every day, or do it every day, or Silas do every day. Maybe I just need 5 minutes to get done and say, okay, I meditated now. Maybe I need half an hour. So it's part of the experience that we already know that people that is in social media is sending the wrong message, that okay, witchcraft is the answer, and actually it's not the answer. The answer is inside you. You need to know and understand, but before that you need to search a little bit and say, okay, this is okay, this is not okay, because not all practice of witchcraft is no are good at all, because or either you are too empowered, or too ashamed to do it. So there is no balance in those, for example, TikToks and videos in YouTube. I watched a lot of them, and I almost say, okay, sorry for the bad word, but bullshit, because I already know that it is not that way. For example, people who mix um, uh, um, energies. No, what are you doing? You are doing wrongly the thing that must be done in first of all in calm and then in harmony. If there is no harmony, there is chaos there. So
But
this is a message that people is sending to us.
Chaos magic is a valid form of
yeah,
magic.
okay.
The universe is chaotic and ordered at the same
Yes.
time. Um, Melanie stated in the chat, for those that can't see it, we have a huge Carillion family. If we were all to get on the platforms and really put our love out there in all our different ways, we could help bring truths and positivity to the metaverse. I truly believe that. We also need to help our younger generation understand putting that out there as well to help too. One of the things that you said that really struck with me, Reverend Orlando, is the personal experience. And that is something that you will see Lord Don refer to over and over and over again in his videos when he does his vlogs. Someone will have a question, well, what does this mean? And his immediate response is, well, what does it mean to you? Because what it means to me is relative to me, and what it means to you is relative to you. So simple things like interpreting a color for healing. Some people use one color and other people use another color because that's how they interpret it, that color personally. Um, some people have an affinity for one kind of magic versus another. Personally, I do most of my magic using crystals.
I do.
Um, I am not one with the tarot. I know that's sacrilegious, but I'm not. I'm not one with the
I'm
tarot.
heavy in
I'm more into numerology.
I'm heavy into tarot and candle when it comes to my spell work.
Yeah. So each of us finds the energy that works for us, whether it's our spiritual energy or our witchcraft energy. Um, but personal experience is the key. And a lot of times when people are trying to communicate to a new witch or a new Wiccan, they are saying it's this way, and this way, and it's not that way, and that way. And it's really, it is what you experience because the divine is guiding that experience. So pay attention to what you
Yeah.
experience. Doesn't matter what someone else
Yeah,
experiences.
I totally agree.
That's their journey, not
Yeah, for
yours.
example, people that they have their own experience. For example, most of the maybe Hasley, she knows the name because I don't remember the name, and Octavia knows very well. Um, it's not the temple of Hecate. It's kind of a coven that is,
Covenant of Hecate.
yeah, that one.
And Torch Bearer of the Covenant of Hecate.
Yeah, and most of the things that connects to Hecate is their own experience. So people that belongs to the covenant, they have their own experience because it's not the same experience of Octavia or Hasley or myself because I work a lot with Hecate. Of course, it's not the same experience, but we are in the same direction. The thing that bothers me is when you try to mix things around that they are not compatible at all and you share it as the real truth.
Yeah,
This is the thing that bothers me, and social media is,
in
I
social
don't
media
know,
happens a lot.
pushing us to do
Uh,
that. For
but
example, mix Hecate with, I don't know,
with
I was,
Lucifer
yeah,
and
and
with,
Lucifer
yes,
because they
that's
are
kind of,
on their world,
yeah, but
hell,
there's
not,
there's
I don't know.
but there's one thing, Reverend Orlando, that you said, and I totally agree, and I would like to add, because in social media we see a lot the people sharing their personal experience as a truth,
The real
but the lack,
truth.
who's, yeah, but I was to say it in Spanish, uh, that is, but the common point is they're not sharing the academic background in the way that, okay, you can have your own truth about how to be the boat of Hecate, and it can be totally different from me, but we both need to know the historic part of this deity. And the things we believe or we do right now, that all of them has a past. It comes from our ancestors. We need to know what our ancestors did in the time. So you can say, okay, Hecate is this kind of goddess. It came from this time. They did this or that. But now my experience is different. But I know where everything came from. So I can feel free to be at the boat of Hecate doing something that is totally unrelative to what the ancestors or the Roman, Greeks, ancient people used to do. But you need to know, you need to, as Reverend Lowry said, do some research, try to find your own truth, but the truth that past, the truth that comes from our past. Because if that doesn't happen, you will believe anything. If someone came and said that, hey, if you want to be at the boat of Hecate, you need to eat orange at 5 in the morning. Why? No, you're going to say, like, okay, fair deal. Maybe it's what the ancient people used to do, so I'm going to eat orange at 5 in the morning. No, you need to ask.
You need to
I
research.
found that a lot when I actually, she's my patron. So, and she came to me very early in my journey.
Mine,
And
this is my experience
she,
too, because when I started to learn a little bit of Wicca, Hasley, she knows Hecate came to me in just one word, Hecate, and I didn't know that Hecate was a goddess. And continue. It's
yeah,
just in small.
she's the goddess of so many things. She came to me as the goddess of crossroads because I was at a point in my life where I was very much at a lot of crossroads. And when I went out and researched her, um, you would have thought she was Kali. You would have thought that if you disappointed her in any way, shape, or form, she was going to come down on you and wreak vengeance and teach you a lesson. And oh my God, she was scary. And my experience is she's very grandmotherly. Has she approved of every decision I've made at a crossroad? Probably not, but who would? But she shows me all the possibilities at those crossroads. So my personal experience is there is absolutely nothing to fear of Hecate. She's a goddess, and you respect that, and you're fine.
Respect.
I don't know what happens if you don't respect that, because I've always respected that. And I do mix pantheons. My patron is Anubis, who is another god that's associated with the
Yeah, and
underworld.
Hermes.
One of Hecate's roles is to guide people to the underworld. That's where her torches come from. So you can mix energies, you can put them on the same altar. You explain what you're doing, you ask permission, and they work great together. My devotional is to ask Hecate to guide me at my crossroads, and for Anubis to keep my decisions at those crossroads so that it keeps my heart as light as a feather, which is where the Egyptians thought the soul was. And as long as your heart was light as a feather when you were judged after you died, you got to go into the Duat and come out the other side reincarnated. So you do need to know those stories of the gods, realizing that they have been washed by many, many millennium of Christian dogma. One of the things I struggled with as a young pagan is, well, that wasn't a nice thing for Zeus to do. Why can't he keep his pants zipped? He's a god. He should know better than that, the stories are there to teach us the parables, to teach us the life lessons, to teach us the human reaction to the world around us. And it is good to know. But if I had stopped at the research, I probably would have run the other way, because there was very little out there on Hecate that showed the experience that I was having of a grandmother that just was there to give me advice and guide me. That was practically non-existent. It has progressed as more people have become devotees and shared that experience. There is material out there now.
Yeah.
That
And
is
see,
more balanced.
and I love that the material is growing. And like it's just really interesting on how in some aspects of some deities that they've just kind of that a lot of things have been lowered. For example, I work with Aphrodite a lot, and a lot of times people just see her as a fluff goddess. Oh, she's just the goddess of beauty and pretty. No, she's more than just that. Uh, she's way more complicated than that. And don't even tell her that, because that'll definitely make her mad.
Yeah.
But she's just so much more complex. I really feel that like through the aeons that people have just tried to diminish her, because she is so much more powerful and so much more than they think. I mean, she's not just the goddess of beauty, but laughter. I mean, passion. I mean, there's just so many more things up to her. It's just.
But as Robert and Laurie said, there's a lot of years, centuries of watching the old gods, the pagan gods, just by the filter of Catholicism and Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
They try to reduce them to some basic concepts. I work with Diana. I mean, she is the patron goddess of my temple, Diana Invicta. And for most people, it's just a crazy lesbian naked woman running around the woods. It's like... No. It's more complicated than that. But it's just like, oh, yes, lesbian power is... I mean, yes, but there's more. This is not that simple. It happens the same with Aphrodite. Right. I mean, we try to slowly, given the academic, the historical background, back to the nowadays, like, okay, is this and that. It's not reduced by concept of Christianity saying like this and that's everything. No, thankfully, all the research that and I mean, more people is trying to make things easy for new pagans, writing books, explaining things easily, and in social media too. There's some third kind TikTokers. I mean, there's one for Spanish speakers that is called Brujo del Sur. I don't know if Orlando know him, but
Yeah,
you know him.
I know him very well.
Okay, this person at least they stop and trying to explain things and explain the background, and then some other that just got spreading random stuff. But okay, we working, as Melanie said, in being here for the younger witches and Wiccans, and for the older too, because there's a lot of things I don't know, and misconceptions. I got some certain gods that maybe I don't have the knowledge. For example, I don't have almost no knowledge about Egyptian and Nubis and all this, and it's good to have people in the tradition that I know I can ask. And for example, if I got adopt, I can go to Reverend Laurie and say, like, Reverend Laurie, I would like to know this or that about the newbies. And I know it's a truthful person to ask. She will not be like, oh, random things just because. No, she will tell, okay, this is my experience. And this is what used to be this God, how used to be understood. And now this is the person that you can do nowadays. That is very important to adapt what was done and how the gods were understood in the past, and how can still be living in our nowadays, adapt to actual day, to technology. It's just adapt, it's reinvent to keep growing, and you could say even it's a kind of evolution, but always keeping the link with the past to avoid to simplify things, as Sila said, that yeah, after it's the beauty and love, and yeah, that's all. It's like, no,
Now,
no.
No, it's
I
more
wonder,
complicated.
I wouldn't be surprised if part of the reason why not only her status was lowered, but as things moved more towards Christianity and you put everything under a patriarchal society, you had to remove the power from women.
Mm.
So, so I bet that that's exactly why, or
And they're
part
still
of
working on
why.
that.
Yeah, we still are. We sure are. So,
For example, one thing that
And we find that seekers of witchcraft, because we can do analytical data on people that open accounts and what courses they take and that kind of stuff. We find that the majority of the audience that finds us is 35 to 55-year-old women, by far. And behind them are the 18 to 25-year-olds. So those people that are just getting out on their own and discovering what an adult means, and their brain is finally formed by age 25. And then those women that may or may not have raised a family, may or may not have had a career, but they know that there's more out there to be had. I love that the Carillions have added the goddess aspect of matron that covers that time after the children leave home, and you're not defining yourself by a label, you're finding who you are before you hit Crone. Because that's a very transformative period in every person's life, not just women, but every person's life. And we did not have an aspect that we could work with during that stage of life before. So I just love it that the tradition has introduced that, and Lady Stephanie presented it so well. And now Lord Don has incorporated that into the new version of the first degree training. So eventually we will be putting that new version of the trainings up on the school, so everyone is exposed to that. We are getting close to the end of our allotted time. I want to welcome Calvin Lord Calvin from Temple of the Oak. And let me scroll here. I think there was one other person. Oh, Lord Konstantinos from Greece. Hello, brother. He's part of my big Greek family now.
Waving across from the.
I think it's very important to have a show like this where we can interact with each other and where the audience can interact with everyone through chat. Next month's show is going to be quite a humdinger. We were going to be broadcasting from the Parliament of World Religions in Chicago. We have a huge Carillion contingency that is attending. For the first time ever, we're going to have a booth where people can learn about Carillianism and what we do and what we have available to support them on their journeys. Where people of other religions can learn not to fear us, and they can accept us as an equal partner in the spiritual world, in interfaith work. And we are going to have two special guests. We are going to have Brother Apu, who is on Facebook as Ramon, and Brother Lakai from the Philippines. Those of you that have followed Carillion social media outlets know that Ramon is a first degree priest that is reclaiming the indigenous sacred path of the Philippines and the native peoples, indigenous peoples of the Philippines.
Mhm.
And not only spiritually, but also through teaching Hilat, which is a healing modality. And then Lakai is a member he's a dedicant studying for his first degree. And he has invented or resurrected, I'm not quite sure which, a divination system based on the symbology of the ancient
Ooh,
Philippines.
I like that.
And if you ever had a reading from him, you know what I'm talking about. It is profound. Um, it's wonderful. It's spiritual and physical. So if you ever get that opportunity, so they will be joining us from Parliament next time. Is there anything that you would like to wrap up with, Reverend Orlando, to leave people with a philosophy thought for the day?
No, I just wanted to add a small thing that just to end the topic a little bit. There are very good influencers and witches and pagans in social media. One of my favorite is she lives in Spain. It's called Alana. Maybe Octavia knows.
Sounds
Uh,
familiar, yeah.
Her channel is Solitude of Alana, something like that. I don't remember. And I follow her very closely because she believes that there is something else, but in order to reconnect with the deity and the divinity part that we are, she reconnect with the past. In this case, with pagans in Spain. So she tried to live as all people, as people that they know what this herb means, what this herb does, etc. But in modern in modern age, she said, okay, I can use social media just to show the truth. And for me, it's kind of enlightening because uh, people, as you mentioned, just in small words, that people they just keep what they want to learn, know, and understand because they don't want to go further. They don't want to go and say, okay, if I am gonna be devoted of For example, Aphrodite, I need to work and understand what she wants. For example, they just want to learn and understand what they heard, and that's it. And this is the wrong way. The idea to work with a deity, the idea to work with my spirituality, the, the idea to be part of this path is work, know, and understand what I'm doing. And in order to do that, I need to put my intention. And in order to do that, I need to be part with my own experience, saying, okay, if Hecate, she likes, for example, chocolate, she doesn't like milky chocolate. She likes the dark chocolate. Why? My experience told me that if I read all books, they say Hecate, she likes, I don't know, drinks that are dark. So chocolate is dark. I mean, my experience mixed with the things that I know, understand, and believe will create my path and will create my own experience and will create my my spirituality, and it will be a very strong spirituality, a very strong idea, a very strong path. So people that can join me or join us will understand that we are not in the wrong way. We are in a way that maybe works for me, and maybe the future will work for you.
I love it.
Right.
Reverend Octavia, what about you? Anything else to
Well,
wrap
I
up?
will be very short. As I just would like to about all this misinformation and the topic we have been talking today. I just would like to add that in a spiritual path, in your spiritual way, the path to know your own truth, it goes through others people's lives. You need to be ready to go through other people's lives, and the unique way is, as Reverend Orlando said, just learn, compare, be sure of what your experience uh, is yours, nobody else. It's yours. Know to find the limits, know what things you need to learn from other people and other things that you don't want them in your daily practice or in your devotion in spiritual way. But just be ready to be through a lot of lies, through a lot of manipulation, and through a lot of companies that are trying to sell you a lot of terrible things. Just be bold, be very Socratic. I mean, in the way of doubt about everything and question yourself a lot. A bit of Socratic and a bit of Stoic, both things together to go through life and to go through your spiritual path. That's everything.
I love it. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. I hope that those that did not catch the show live will be able to see it on rebroadcast. And until next month, thank y'all. We'll see you next
Bye.
time.
Bye.